traded it all.
Welcome back, everyone. We are live on Facebook, so I want to say hi to everybody out there. Like us and follow us. We're going to be sharing the show right afterwards. I have with me Darrell Williams, and he is the partner of Williams Mestaz. You told me before you came on that you are a commercial trial lawyer. Is that what you say?
That's right. I live in the courtroom. I've been doing this for 43 years.
Wow.
And the only thing I've ever done are cases that go to trial, formal dispute resolution, and I just love it more than anything I can think of.
Well, welcome to my show. I really am glad to have you here. I want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and, who you work with and what you do.
Well, I guess the most important thing about me is I'm married to my wife for 48 years.
Congratulations.
And she's the one who talked me into being a lawyer because I wanted to be an economist. I was going to go to the University of Chicago and study under Milton Friedman, and she couldn't understand what an economist did, so she talked me in to taking the LSAT. And to keep peace in my new marriage, I did that. And it was the best thing that's ever happened in my life. Certainly professionally, to be a lawyer, and the best thing ever is to be married to my wife for 48 years.
That's super. I really love that story. So that's why you became a lawyer, but I want to talk about your practice, the areas of the practice that you work with, and your client.
Sure. I got a degree in economics. I wrote a workbook for the MBA program at BYU that was used there. I was very much into financial matters. I'd watched Perry Mason. I knew that lawyers went to the courtroom and doing commercial litigation, which is business litigation. It is finance litigation. It is securities litigation. It is antitrust, unfair trade and competition. Those sorts of commercial matters is what I do. Essentially, I'm worthless as a lawyer for an individual. I don't do divorces. I don't do child support. I don't do criminal stuff. I don't do things that typically individuals need. But if you've got a business that's in trouble, or you've got a partnership that needs a divorce, or you're having those sorts of problems, I'm your guy.
Well, let me tell you,
I know how to do that.
I said before you came on, this is a business station. So we have a lot of business owners that listen to this station just because of the kind of station that it is, okay? And so I'm happy to have you on to be able to talk about this because, I have had divorce lawyers on, and so now to have something like this is quite different. And I can't wait for you to come back because I want to go more narrow and deep on some of the subjects, and because it's very interesting, I'm sure, of the different aspects of their areas of business that you can help them with when they're in trouble.
Well, that's absolutely true. I think 90% of the cases that go to trial in Maricopa County are what we call tort cases. Somebody's been injured, there's been an accident, or somebody has defamed somebody, and they're offended. And rightly so in many cases, and so they get a lawyer who typically works on a contingent fee, who takes their case and they go to trial. Most of these involve insurance defense, or the plaintiff is suing to get insurance proceeds. That's not me. I work with the commercial business whose livelihood is on the line. And so I help them save that livelihood, preserve their trade secrets, their intellectual property, that sorts of thing. That is my forte.
And today, intellectual property goes a long way because now we even have people who have websites where there's intellectual property there. I'm assuming, am I correct?
You're absolutely right. You've got websites. It's called trade dress is what it is. So it's Lanham Act stuff, trade dress, how people appear to be you when they're not. That's the sort of litigation that I get into.
It's so interesting, and it can happen to anyone. And there's a lot of people. Okay, let me ask you this question, and I have to go off of this for a minute, okay? The kinds of businesses that you work with, does it matter?
No, it does not. I got a call yesterday from someone who's got a small business in Sierra Vista, Arizona, and it's a corporation, and he's having a problem with the other shareholder. He happens to be the 51% shareholder. So he's in a better position than the 49% shareholder. But that's a relationship that needs a business divorce. And you don't go to a divorce lawyer to get that. You go to someone like me to help you, lead you through that process so that it works out as best as you can have it work out.
The phone number to call him is 602-256-9400. His website is Williams Mestaz, and it's spelled MESTAZ.com. You're located right at 24th and Lincoln, but you said that you're nationwide.
Well, I try cases all over the United States. Last week I was in Houston, Texas, for example, in a rather large case down there. Next week I'll be trying a case in New York City, actually White Plains, but it's a suburb of New York. I've been in the courtroom in Brisbane, Australia. So I've done international things, I do local things, I do national things. When you're in the courtroom, you want to make sure that you have a lawyer who knows where to stand in the courtroom, because experience matters. You got to be able to read what's going on in there. And you've got millions or tens of millions of dollars on the line. You want to make sure that the guy who's representing you knows what's going on.
You've been doing this for 43 years.
43
so you
years.
definitely know what's going on. And what he says, experience matters. And it does, especially when you're talking about a business, and a business divorce. This is yes, it's very intricate for a family, members and families, but for businesses, it becomes even more intricate. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. For example, if someone shuts your business down because they do a wrongful termination of a lease or something, and so you're out of business, and it is wrongful, well, you're out of business. How do you establish the lost profits that you have because they wrongfully terminated the lease? Those are very complicated calculations to do. Many people just do a very simple discounted cash flow analysis, but that's, they're what I do, I say they're messing with the denominator of the present value figure instead of the numerator. The numerator gives you a much better, more accurate figure, and you need experts in order to do that. So my courtroom experience almost always involves economists and accountants.
Well, you get it. Let me tell you this. You also told me before you came on that you do what's called a look-see, a free look-see consultation, and it's what is that? Tell them what is a 1 hour one. What is that?
Well, what that means is I don't think anybody ought to just hire a lawyer and think they're going to pay him without looking at him and looking at his eyes and see if they like what they see, and they can do that for an hour. And what
does it takes place in that hour besides looking at his eyes?
Well, I want to talk about the case. So before they get to my office, or before I go to see them, I'm a pilot, I have an airplane, I'll fly to see them. I want their documents, I want to know what the case is about, I'm going to study it, and then I'm going to meet with them and tell them what I think.
And then, at that point, you can discuss whether it's right between you and for you guys to hire each other. Well, you're hiring him, and they're hiring you, in a sense, right?
Well, that's exactly right. And they can fire me, and I've fired clients before too. And so you have to have a relationship with your lawyer. You got to have confidence in him. If you don't, then you need to change lawyers. You need to find somebody.
So, when in a look-see, have you ever done a second opinion? Like, for instance, let's say somebody's in a case right now. They've hired someone. They're listening to you right now. We're going to go to a break show. It's a perfect time. But they're in conflict, and they're saying, "I'm not happy with he's not doing the right job for me." Can they call someone like you still?
Absolutely, and I'll take a look-see.
Take a look-see and find out whether or not can help. And that's what it starts with. And it's a 1 hour free look-see. He's been doing this for 43 years, and experience matters. We're talking business litigation, business things that are come up in your business that you might need a lawyer. He said to everybody that came in here that was a business, if you're getting sued, you better call me.
That's exactly right.
The phone number to call is 602-256-9400. He's got 43 years of experience. He helps people nationwide, but he also is located here right at 24th Street and Lincoln. His website is William Mestaz. It's MESTAZ.com. So welcome back, everyone. We are talking with Darrell Williams, and he is the owner, partner, you said, of Williams Mestaz. And, first of all, it's great getting to know you. I know you're going to be coming back on the show. I love your, I just love your, I'm going to call it a personality, okay? But
you have to be an actor to be a trial lawyer. Let's face it. You're on a stage.
That's why I told you need to have your own radio show.
Well, you are the director, and you work with your cast, which is your client, but you're the guy out on the stage who's doing everything. It's kind of a one-man show. So the jury either likes you or they don't.
Well, there you go. And it comes into the perfect question. Do you remember your first trial?
I do. It's one of the few trials I actually remember. I tried it in the late 70s. My client was Sheila Spitz. She had invested, $10,000 or so, not very much, with a company called Mark V. I worked at a large firm then. They knew this lawsuit was a piece of dog meat, so they sent me all alone to trial to try the case. So my very first trial was all alone before a jury in front of then Superior Court Judge Val Cordova. I had no clue what I was doing, and the lawyer who was on the other side was very experienced. But he kind of swaggered around the courtroom and knew that he was better than I. And when the jury walked in, I realized they didn't have a clue who he was. And pretty soon the jury didn't like him, and they felt sorry for me.
You got to win any way you can, I'm telling you right now.
I won because the jury liked my client, and they liked me. I made some horrible mistakes in that trial. I went back to my firm and said, well, we got a jury verdict not only for everything she wanted, but they gave us attorney's fees too. And this was in the days when attorney's fees were not recoverable in Arizona. Mm-hmm. I just screwed up. I asked Ms. Spitz what her attorney's fees were. She answered. The judge said, you can't do that. But we were asking for punitive damages for fraud. So the jury came back, gave her every penny, and then her attorney's fees.
Wow, that's
and
awesome.
Punitive damages.
Now, again, 43 years of experience that you have. We're talking business to business here. We're not talking about divorce or criminal. Yeah. That's not your area of expertise. But if you own a business and maybe there's some issues that you're being sued, this is the man to call. And what other areas besides if they're being sued, if they're a dissolution of a business?
Yes, if you have a dispute with a partner and you need to get out of it. If you have a dispute with another business, they've sued you. And I got to tell you, the last thing you want to do is have a lawyer on your team because it's a black hole for money.
So what do you mean?
Well, I tell people litigation is terribly expensive. You sue someone or you get sued. It's like grabbing a tiger by the tail. And that tiger, and you got to kill it.
But why do we need it? We need it.
Well, it's formal dispute resolution. Might does not make right in America. We have a constitution, and what makes a civilized society is to have a judiciary, a judicial system that allows for the peaceful resolution of disputes. If we didn't have that, it'd just be the Wild West, and might makes right.
Well, let's talk about your trials, okay? So what is
I have lots of stories.
That's good. People like stories. So what's your longest trial?
My longest trial was 10 months to a jury.
That doesn't seem very long, though.
I'll tell you, 10 months every day with a jury in the box involving $577 million in a securities fraud case with 33,000 exhibits marked is a huge trial.
Wow, that is. I misspoke. So, okay, let's talk about this. What I want to say, biggest verdict you asked me to ask you?
Oh, this is a case involving an international child care company. The company headquartered in Brisbane breached a contract with my client. They thought that we could not sue them because of the breach. We did, and we recovered a $60 million judgment against them.
So let's compare the trials that you started 43 years ago. So what's the difference between trials when you first started compared to today?
When I first started in the mid-'70s, people read things. They were accustomed to reading things. You give them a contract, they read it. They don't do that today. You need to be more like a television show in the courtroom today. So my partner and I are on the cutting edge of electronics in the courtroom. In fact, I was an adjunct professor at ASU's law school for a couple of years, teaching how to use electronics in the courtroom, because when you put it up on the TV screen, when you have the live video of the deponent, it has an impact that you can't get when you're trying to hand the jury a stack of paper or a sheet of paper or a 30-page contract and say, turn to page 15 and read paragraph 15C. You know, they're not able to do that. They have a very limited attention span today as compared to when I started trials in the 1970s. So if you're a lawyer today, you have to adapt. And I'm saying if you're not using electronics in the courtroom, if you're not taking videotape depositions, then you're committing malpractice.
Well, I have to say, I'm really glad I asked you that question, because when you tell somebody that you've been doing something 43 years, it's awesome, and it is experience. Don't get me wrong. But it's like anything else. Are you keeping up with the times, right? I mean, some people don't, and I like that you said that, because here you just said it right there. You are state of the art.
We are cutting edge.
Okay, cutting edge.
Most of the lawyers who are at my level of practice, and these are the guys who are going to the courtroom in the big cases like I go to, they didn't know what a computer was. They don't know how to run the computer. They don't know what to do it in the courtroom, what to do with it in the courtroom, so they're relying upon help in the back of the room to do it. They may start a trial against me without the electronics, but I'll guarantee you, by the time that trial is completed, they've got electronics in the courtroom to compete with me.
Now, you got to check him out on his website. It's Williams Mestaz, Mestaz.com. The phone number to call direct, it's 602-256-9400. And you're listening to this. This is also a number I think you should write down, because you never know when something's going to happen and you're getting sued, or your business is dissolved because something happened with your partner. What is the most that you see?
The most I see is that partners have a falling out. It's just like a marriage. If you're in a partnership, that's a marriage. And if you begin to have disagreements or somebody gets greedy, they're not willing to make adjustments and concessions as things change. They're drawing lines in the sand that make it impossible to go on. Then you're headed toward a peaceful resolution or a formal resolution in the courtroom, which I prefer.
Okay, and so let's talk about mediation.
I hate mediation. I think, mediation does not have the safeguards of the rules of evidence or the power of discovery or a judge who actually understands how to control the admission of evidence. You go to mediation, and it's kind of a free-for-all. And now you can have some very good mediations, but by and large, I think mediations are not the way I want to resolve cases, and as a matter of fact, they can be very, very expensive. Filing fee, for example, for a AAA arbitration, the American Arbitration Association, I just had to do a filing last week. The filing fee was $3,000 just to file the case. And I hope it works out all right, but you don't know who you're going to get. And it may or not, and we're not going to have any discovery. You're going to go to the mediation, and anything comes in pretty much willy-nilly, and that's centuries of legal decisions limiting what sort of evidence is credible is lost in a mediation. So I don't like it.
Real quickly then, if I can, I see that. Now, and what about your feelings really quickly about the jury system, though?
Oh, I like a jury, but you got to understand, the jury doesn't understand what's going on in the courtroom. They're voting for the lawyer they think is telling the truth, and they decide early on which lawyer that is.
Well, I'll tell you something. If you want a good lawyer and you've got a business and you've got trouble, you got to call Darrell, because he's got 43 years of experience, and experience matters, and you can hear it, and you can hear you are passionate too about what you do. Again, you can check him out on his website. It is Williams with an S, Mestaz is MESTAZ.com. That phone number to call is 602-256-9400. He's nationwide.